To Joshua's leadership. After the death of Moses, Joshua became the leader of the Israelites. God assured him that he would be with him just as he was with Moses. Joshua was tasked with leading the Israelites into the promised land, beginning with the city of Jericho, a fortified city with massive walls. Spying on Jericho. Before attacking, Joshua sent 2 spies to scout the city. They entered Jericho and stayed at the house of Rahab, a woman who lived on the city wall. The king of Jericho heard about the spies and sent men to capture them, but Rahab hid them under stalks of flax on her roof. Rahab told the spies that the people of Jericho feared the Israelites because they had heard of God's miracles, including the parting of the Red Sea and their victories over other kings. In exchange for her help, she asked for protection for herself and her family. The spies agreed, instructing her to tie a scarlet cord in her window as a sign for her household to be spared. The spies then escaped and reported back to Joshua. God's battle plan. God gave Joshua specific instructions for conquering Jericho. The Israelite army was not to attack in a conventional way but instead perform a marching ritual for 7 days. Day 1 to day 6. Joshua and the Israelites were to march around the city once per day. The army would lead the way, followed by 7 priests blowing rams' horns, shofars, the Ark of the Covenant, and the rest of the army. They were to march in complete silence, except for the sound of the trumpets. Day 7. They were to march around the city 7 times, and after the 7th time, the priests would blow a long blast on their horns. At Joshua's command, the people would shout loudly, and the walls of Jericho would collapse. The march around Jericho. For 6 days, the Israelites followed God's command, marching around Jericho once a day in silence. The people of Jericho, watching from the walls, must have been puzzled or even mocked them. However, the Israelites remained disciplined, waiting for God's moment. On the 7th day, they marched around Jericho 7 times. After the 7th lap, the priests blew their trumpets, and Joshua commanded the people to shout with a great shout. The walls collapse. As soon as the people shouted, the massive walls of Jericho crumbled instantly, collapsing into rubble. The Israelites rushed into the city and conquered it. As per God's command, they destroyed everything in Jericho, men, women, animals, except for Rahab and her family, who were spared because of her faith and obedience. Jericho is devoted to God. Joshua declared that Jericho was to be devoted to God and that no one should rebuild it. The gold, silver, bronze, and iron from the city were taken and placed in the Lord's treasury. Joshua then placed a curse on anyone who would attempt to rebuild Jericho, saying that the foundation would be laid at the cost of their firstborn and the gates at the cost of their youngest son. This curse was later fulfilled in 1 Kings 16:34. Conclusion. A victory by faith. The fall of Jericho was not won by military might but by faith and obedience to God. This story emphasizes the power of faith in God's promises, the importance of obedience, God's ability to bring victory in unexpected ways. This event marked the beginning of Israel's conquest of the Promised Land, demonstrating that God was with them just as he had been with Moses. For more biblical stories, kindly subscribe, like, comment and share.